And a lot of times when I talk to people here, it's like they don't know these things. I remember I asked a girl, "Do you know who Harriet Tubman is?" when that movie came out 2 years ago. And she's like, "Who's Harriet Tubman?" I was like, "Oh my goodness."
But maybe they're just dumb.
It's funny. That's the girl. I'm not gonna say that. I was telling you about the girl from Ottawa that I worked with, and I was like, I told you that you guys remind me of each other. I don't think she's dumb. I just think she wasn't taught that growing up in school. Were you taught about?
Everyone in the
like
world
that?
is taught who Harriet Tubman is, so don't act like the school system failed her. She failed herself, not knowing who Harriet Tubman is. Like, you don't even have to go to school to know who Harriet Tubman is.
Welcome to Too Much,
Our podcast about, well, whatever.
From issues of the world to topics of lesser grandeur. We've got you covered with a little bit too much to say about everything.
So, let's start the show.
I'm blackety black, Michael.
And I'm just sitting here waiting for Ivy Park to drop. Cody.
Ooh, Ivy Park.
Still no date yet.
Cannot wait. I'm kind of concerned because they kind of mentioned it over a week ago, and I don't know all of what's available. Normally she'd post like a bunch of pictures so you know what the collection looks like, and then a date shortly after. I've just been seeing bits and pieces here and there. I haven't seen the full collection yet. Unless all that we've seen is the collection, which is not a lot.
I'm sure there's more. Yeah, she hasn't posted all of it, but she didn't post all of it last time. Well, I guess... I don't remember. She doesn't always, though.
There was a lot.
She doesn't always, and there's still no date in sight. Well, at least when we're recording this. I don't know. Maybe once the podcast comes out, there'll be a date. But it's unusual for her to promote it so early. Usually she posts, there's a new drop, and then the next day she's like, oh yeah, it drops in 7 days. But we're just sitting here waiting and waiting. And I'm like, most of it is, well, not most of it, but there's a lot of winter clothes in it. She's calling it Icy Park.
Winter is
almost over.
Yeah, we're in February, guys. February, the shortest month of the year. And coincidentally, Black History Month.
Coincidentally.
And we still don't know when Beyonce's dropping that ice.
Yeah.
I did see Gucci Mane being a model for her. He had on this really nice blue fur coat, and I was like, I love fur. I'm like, I would love that.
There's lots of celebrities.
Blue, my favorite
this time.
color. I only saw I saw Gucci. I saw Hailey Bieber.
Yeah, and there's some other people.
I saw Vivica Fox.
Vivica Fox. I told you that
in the
picture
beginning.
was fake.
It was fake.
It's just an old picture of her wearing blue.
My bad.
Vivica Fox.
My bad.
But I think there was some other
I just saw that in the beginning. I was like, oh, that's cute.
That's so funny. We are Ivy Park. I think there were some other people.
We're icy spicy. Who else?
I'm trying to look it up.
Well, everyone is saying that Sweetie should be a part of it because she sang that song Icy, and Icy's kind of her thing. But I feel like she might be a part of it. We're just not going to see her until like more promotional stuff gets dropped.
Why would you think that?
I don't know, maybe Beyonce's like waiting to make it a surprise. Or she just might not be a part of it, because I do remember seeing her posting something about another brand, and most of the times when they have deals with one brand and they're an ambassador, they really don't, endorse anything else.
Yeah, exactly. So, for sure. Yeah, I can't see anybody else but
a part of it.
Gucci and Hailey Bieber. Those are some big names compared to her other campaigns she's done where she's, the only celebrity, really, from what I remember.
Yeah. From the last two drops, which was Ivy Park 2 and 2 point something, I don't recall another celebrity modeling for her.
She's expanding.
Yeah, she is. I think it's really cute. I'm here for it.
All right, want to get into some topics from the timeline?
All right, I'm going to go first because I have some stories. Now, there's some stuff going down in France, and I'm not surprised because the French people are known for love and very, all that. So police break up an orgy of 81 people for violating France's COVID-19 protocols.
Oh, I
Can you
think I heard
imagine
about this.
81 people, an orgy? Like, France is lit. France is really lit. They are doing it over there.
I just can't see how your sex parties are that important that even in a pandemic you need to get like every member in assembly.
I know. It feels like that's the entire France chapter of that.
Like, why
Of
can't you
that.
just meet with like one or two couples and then that's it? Why are you all going to like a party space to get freaky? In these circumstances, I can't imagine. I cannot imagine.
It's wildly ridiculous. That's what it is. And what's also funny to me is just the amount of money they get fined. The fine is $141 US each.
Per person.
That is nothing.
That is
That
really
is
nothing.
nothing. Here in Canada, if I'm just gonna go visit some friend without like reason or whatever, and it's not necessary, and I get stopped by the police and they're like, "Where are you going? Is this like a doctor's appointment or you're going to your job that you have to go to or whatever?" And I'm like, "No, I'm just going to go visit my friend because I haven't seen them in a few weeks." That's a $800 fine.
Well, you're not supposed to be visiting people. Stop
Right,
the
that's
spread.
what I'm saying. You're not supposed to be out there doing things. Right now, we're no longer just in lockdown. We are in a state of emergency, and that's saying something because we're not even as bad as the States or some other countries. But we are climbing up on that list, though, aren't we?
And they, from what I've been seeing online, a lot of the states are vaccinating faster than we are.
Yeah, we need to get on top of that. But it's wild to me that in France, people are. I mean, they say like Paris, the city of love, and like French people, they're very sexually, in tune with themselves and all of that type of stuff. But how badly do you need it? And this is an orgy party. Like, you couldn't just go find one person to go get your rocks off with. You needed 80 other people to feel
That's
great.
what I'm saying. Yeah, I guess so. It's
All
probably
that
part of
body
what gets
sweat.
them off. I mean, yeah, but the body sweat's there on a normal day.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, you can take a chance with one person swapping sweat and all that molecules and particles and stuff to catch COVID, but you're going to take that chance with 80 other people. Work. That is ridiculous. But yeah, that's what's popping up in France.
Did you hear about this country music star who used the N-word the other day?
I just saw that this morning when I woke up. I don't even know. At this point, disrespectful. Not on this month. Like, not on any month. Not in
Yeah, I
this
was
year.
gonna say.
Not ever. Not ever in life. Why do you... And I heard the recording. It seemed like they were having a fight. Were they? Was he having a fight with someone?
I think he was telling whoever dropped him off at home about somebody else. Like, I think he was saying it about somebody else who they were hanging out with that night. But yeah, he was arriving home after a night out, and he said it to one of his friends, like, as they dropped him off. But since the whole video has come out, etc., he's been dropped by his label, and he's been dropped by a bunch of country music stations. And he's since apologized as well. What did he say? He said, "I promise to do better."
All right.
Talk about setting the bar really
What's his name again?
low. MorganWallen.
MorganWallen. I don't know his music.
I don't either, but apparently he's a pretty
like
big
country.
name. But you don't listen to it.
Oh yeah, I do listen to country. I love Dolly. I love Reba.
Yeah, but you don't listen to anything current, so of course you're not going to know about him.
Yeah, I am pretty stuck with my older musicians. I don't really listen to new artists. But I'm going to do better. That's what he says.
That's what he says. I promise to do better.
Promise to do better.
Then use the N-word in 2021.
Well, you know what's always funny to me when people say, not in 2016, not in 2020, not 21. Like, it doesn't matter what year it is, people gonna still do what they do.
Yeah, true. But the most interesting part to me, or the most part, is that, so I told you all these radio stations dropped him and his label dropped him as well, or suspended him or what have you.
Right.
So after this news came out that everybody was kind of like blacklisting him for what he said, his songs shot up on the iTunes charts to occupy 5 of the top 10.
Does
So
not
his
surprise
fans were
me.
like coming out hard to support him.
I don't think it's necessarily his fans. However, I do believe it's like the Proud Boys and people who agree with what he said. Even though he's like, I'm remorseful for what I did, there are a lot of people who are like, yeah, use that word. We stand with you because we want to use it too, because that's how we feel. And so they're going to make sure that he's okay. Just like when he who shall not be named, according to Whoopi Goldberg, was in power and, you know, he was saying all these things. If someone got called out during those times for being a racist or a Proud Boy or just a white supremacist, then you'd have Republicans like funding them. It's like, oh, you lost your job because you said what we all agree with? Don't worry, we'll take care of you financially.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah, I totally get that. His full statement that he gave to TMZ was, I'm embarrassed and sorry. I used an unacceptable and inappropriate racial slur that I wish I could take back. There are no excuses to use this type of language ever. I want to sincerely apologize for using the word. I promise to do better. My thing is, if he used it once on video, so he always uses it. It's obviously a term that he uses. I don't even know if he was talking about a black person or talking about a white person, but it doesn't really matter to me.
Right.
But the fact that they always come out and say, you know, I used an unacceptable term. It was inappropriate. I wish I could take it back. You're only saying that because you got caught, because every other time you used it, you never thought to yourself, wow, I really shouldn't be using that language. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Because
it's only because people are
words.
like, hey, that's not okay. But you knew it wasn't okay before.
Yeah. There are certain
He's like,
words
there's no
where
excuses.
you just don't use if it's not a part of your vocabulary. Like, I would never be in the heat of the moment, angry, and then use a T word, a F word. And you guys can use your imagination for whatever those words are. I know what they mean, and you probably can pick up on it. But I wouldn't use those words. A T word ending with a Y. F word ending with a G. I'd never be heated, angry, or whatever and just blurted those words out because it's not a part of my vocabulary. It's not something I say ever to people or even to myself. So why would I just one day be like, oh, that T, that F, that whatever else you want to call people that's not acceptable?
But you know what's interesting is how the words... I mean, I don't want to say they take on new meaning, but how the words kind of evolve over time. Like, he probably didn't... He used it in a derogatory way, but I don't think he hates black people. You know what I mean?
Okay, so this is a thing. At some point, it's more than just you hate black people when it comes to using the N-word. Or even the T word I mentioned, or the F word. You can have great friends in the LGBTQ community. You could be an ally, and you could care for them genuinely. But when you use these words, it triggers something, it means something, and you know better. Why would you want to use it in the first place? You probably don't hate people in these communities, black, LGBTQ, Jewish, whatever. You probably don't hate these people, but why would you have that word in your vocabulary knowing that this word hurts people? And it doesn't matter if these people say these things to them amongst themselves. They can do it. That's if they're reclaiming that word, let them reclaim that word.
Because I think you get socialized. Like, say he grew up around like racists saying the word or things like that, and then it just became part of his vocabulary. But when he says it, he doesn't necessarily have the same malice behind it. Like, kind of when we were growing up, or when I was growing up, I should only speak for myself, but when I was growing up and people would use the F word, but they're not I mean, people used to be quite homophobic, and people still are, but they're not necessarily using it in a homophobic way. You know what I mean? So it's like the words are still wrong, and you need to stop saying them. But I think people just get socialized to say things without really realizing the meaning of what they're saying.
If someone made like, say some popular artist started making a lot of music using the T word and their T so they can say it, the F word, they're an F so they can say it, C word for our Caucasian friends, if they want to use that to reclaim whatever. I don't care how popular your song is and how bopping it is, I'm not going to say it. And it's not going to become a part of my vocabulary because I personally just don't think those words are nice. I don't even think the N word is something I personally want to use in my day-to-day life. But to the point of, I am a black person, so I could if I wanted to. And even though I have said it before, it's still not a part of my vocabulary where it's a daily routine for me to be like, hey, yo, and like every other word, it's that. I personally just feel like if it's not something you're supposed to say, just don't say it. And I don't care if you say it behind closed doors with your white friends, your other friends, your family says it, people around you say it. You should have enough like sensibility to say to yourself, this is not something that's okay behind closed doors or in public. So let me just not partake in that ever. He sounded drunk when he was talking in the video.
Oh, he was definitely drunk. Yeah, he was coming home from a night out.
They always say that when you're drunk, you tell the truth, eh? Instead of what's on his mind.
Oh, no, I think I don't think that's the first time he used it. I think it's absolutely something he says regularly.
For sure.
But hopefully he's paying the consequences and he'll actually
I'm just really surprised that the label dropped him so quickly because he's a country star, and for a very long time, even though I can't really remember in recent history or even before that where a country star said something like this. I can't recall if this has ever happened. If something like this ever happened and you guys remember about it, like, leave a comment wherever you're listening to this on, if it's Apple, Spotify, you name it, YouTube, because I can't recall if someone's ever done this in the country community before. But they stick with each other down there. Like, country artists and, like, the whole community of country music, they really stick with each other. So I was like, whoa, the label dropped him. The stations aren't playing him. That's showing some solidarity to the minority group here. That's showing that they're evolving as a community themselves.
I know, it's good. It's really good. You remember when Dolly Parton came out last summer and was like, of course Black Lives Matter.
I love her so much. Love Dolly. I want to go to Dollywood. That would be so fun.
It's so expensive.
Is it?
Well, I just mean like it's in a... Wait, no, isn't it in Tennessee?
I don't know. And it's funny because I went to Tennessee, and I think the next time I go visit, they're probably not going to even be living there. My family, that is. I thought it would have been in Tennessee.
So it's not really that far. I was thinking you have to like fly really far because I was thinking it was like closer to like Nevada or Texas, but I think it's in Tennessee.
Yeah, I would love to go to Dollywood.
It wouldn't be that expensive to like fly out, and then I'm sure it's not crazy expensive when you get there.
No, because Dolly knows we ain't got money like that. I have a story. Now, adult star claims she dumped Marilyn Manson before he allegedly bit her. Yep, he's biting people. And fantasized about burning her alive.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, okay, here's the thing.
Does it surprise you with Marilyn, though?
So, yeah, that's the thing. All this stuff coming out with Marilyn, it's like, I'm not really that surprised. I don't know if you saw the other day, what's her name? The girl from Westworld. She revealed that he abused her when they were together. And then his label dropped. Speaking of labels dropping artists, his label dropped him as well. And then I think he was married to, was it Dita Von Teese for like a year or so? She came out and said that, the things that were said about him don't match her relationship that she had with him. But I don't know much about Marilyn Manson, but isn't his music pretty dark and like tormented and like perverted and stuff? So I'm not shocked when I hear these sort of things.
I mean,
And that's not even judging the book by the cover. Like, you can look however you want, but isn't the things that he actually says and talks about kind of weird?
yep, very weird. So you guys been listening to the podcast. Thank you.
But if the Too Much podcast isn't enough, there's a whole lot more content on Michael's YouTube.
Yeah, I post like every single week and I have literally too much going on over there.
Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and please drop a comment and tell us what you thought or what you'd like to see Michael do next.
Bye. Oh, no. Back to the show.
So today's topic is Black History Month.
Black History Month. Am I being loud? I'm trying to be Oprah right now.
It was a little bit Oprah.
Speaking of Black history, that was Oprah. I was doing an impression, and she is a Black billionaire who started off dirt poor and worked her way up like most Black people had to do because we ain't got no money to start off with. We were slaves and all that stuff. And when they abolished slavery-ish, they didn't give us no land. They didn't give us nothing. But they gave all the white people that were poor, that came over from London and other parts of Europe, they gave them some land and some money to start them off. You know that? Not you, but people listening. You know that? And that's what they call systematic racism, people. When they're like, we're going to release you. You no longer have to mend our fields. But for the past 400 and something years that we were like working y'all to the bone without pay, you got to really go out there and start afresh on your own. Figure it out. Pull yourselves up from your bootstraps, even though we didn't even give you bootstraps to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much that. So, Black History Month. I love Black History Month. Last year, I was working at this really nice corporate job, and it was very... the diversity level there was not great. And I realized that they didn't celebrate Black History Month at that place. And I was like, this is weird, because y'all have a budget for frickin' St. Patrick's Day. Why do we not have a budget for Black History Month? And anyways, I believe the first Monday of Black History Month was like on the 3rd of February. So I was like, okay, the first day I walk into this office for the month, I'm going to let it be known that this ain't going to fly and something needs to be done. And so I walked up in there in my kente cloth, and I was the blackest in the room and making them know I want us to celebrate Black History Month because we have a certain percentage of Black people here, and y'all celebrate some other holidays for other religions and races, and this one is not celebrated, and I don't know why. While you do have Black employees here that need to be represented. And so they changed it, and we got a budget. We did a whole presentation. I spoke to the entire company, educated them on the Black and African diaspora, and everyone that worked there talked about where they're from, and we had a nice presentation, a nice spread, and everything was cute. And even though I'm no longer with them, I hope they carry on this tradition. I'm going to call somebody that I know that still works there and ask them if they're doing it.
Why do you think Black History Month isn't more widely celebrated? Did you celebrate Black History Month as a kid?
I did. I grew up a great deal of my life in Jamaica, and it was celebrated, but every day kind of felt like Black History Month in a way. So it wasn't like North Americans or people in Europe that are Black, where it's like most people around you guys look different. They're Caucasian and they're other races. Growing up where I grew up, we had a lot of different races as well, but the majority was Black. And we did celebrate Black History Month, but I felt like every day was Black History Month for me. So I'm really grateful for all the knowledge that I got growing up and the teachings about Black excellence and just pride, because I see people here in Canada and people in the States and in England, and they're like, we weren't taught certain things. We don't know much about what our people have done. It's very limited, you know? You learn about founding fathers and people who wrote your declarations of independence and your constitutions, and you hear about monarchies here in Canada, the Queen and all that, but you don't really hear much about what black people did in this country.
Yeah, why do you think Black History Month isn't more celebrated?
Oh, my goodness. Oh, not my alarm going off. My alarm goes off every day this time to remind me to exercise. And for the past month, I've never exercised at this time. uh, yeah, your question. Why it's not that wildly celebrated? I don't know. I couldn't say why specifically, but as a human being of African descent, I can say how I feel. It feels like no one wants to really talk about the accomplishments of minorities, and I'm not just going to say black people for this specific answer, but just minorities in general. Talk about their contributions to great nations like Canada and the US or Great Britain, because then it's like you're going to have to force the majority, which are Caucasian people in these countries, they are the majority, you're going to have to force them to actually take note and accept the fact that black people or other minorities had a rough go and they were treated poorly. So no one really wants to relive that. So that's probably the reason why they don't celebrate it as much as it should be.
Yeah, word. I think they should almost rebrand the month so it's not as much about, well, still about history, but like less about like slavery. You know what I mean?
Right. So when I was growing up, Black History Month wasn't. It was about slavery, in part, but that wasn't the majority of what we learned or what we talked about, because slavery was a huge part of our history and our ancestral lineage. You cannot discount it. You cannot ignore it. You cannot pretend it wasn't there. So it has to be discussed at some point. No atonement has happened. No reparations has happened. So yes, people still be mad. But what I learned a lot growing up in Black History Month was just about black excellence. Like, did you know that this black person did this? It's possible for you as a young black person to do greater things. We've invented so many things. It's ridiculous.
Crazy.
Right now, people don't even understand that most of the music they listen to and enjoy by their country artists, their rock and roll favorites, and their pop favorites like Taylor and everybody else. Like, if you chase the lineage going back and where everything originated, we invented these things. You wear a female sanitary, I'm gonna call it sanitary napkin. Is that right? I don't know if that
a pad.
The hell, that's what it's called in the store. You buy Stay Free. Do they use that brand anymore? That was a brand I heard of a long time ago.
I didn't even know what that is.
It's like a brand of pads.
Yeah, never heard of it.
Anyways, maybe it's an old brand. Gosh, I'm old. If you're a female and you use that, a black woman invented it. Like,
I just found that out the other day.
Yeah, there's so many things that black people invented that it's like, when you really think about it, you're like, whoa.
Like everyday items that you use all the time.
Everyday items.
I'm pretty sure the lawnmower was invented by a black guy.
So many things. And we really don't know these things. We just use them, and it's like they're owned by these big corporations that are a bunch of white people at the helm, and they make a lot of money off of these things, and they capitalize and they market it, and the money stays within their communities. But we really built that. The railroads that so many wealthy families in America started their wealth. When you think of generational wealth, I think of railroads a lot.
Oh, for sure, because
that's where
the first rich people.
A lot of the richest people in the country, like in America specifically, that's where they got a lot of their money from. And did they build it? No, they did not. But did they gain from it? Yes, they did. While your great 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 grandfather was there laying steel and all these type of things, hammering at rocks.
Yeah.
So I just think it's important to still have Black History Month for those reasons. Every black person growing up should be educated on how they got to where they are right now. Your great 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 grandpappy did not just wake up one day in America and it's like, well, let's go for the American dream. No, he was taken, she was taken, they were brought here. The conditions that they were brought here under were extreme. I remember growing up and them teaching us in schools how they did the triangular trade and how they packed us like sardines in these boats, and that half of us would die or just commit suicide before we even got to the new world because the conditions were just so bad. I saw pictures of it in my history books, and when I talk to people born in North America, I'm like, so what did you learn growing up? They're like, we didn't learn all of that. And I'm like, whoa. I was taught about Tainos, Arawaks, and these are like indigenous people in the Caribbean. We learned that they were the first inhabitants of the islands. We learned that when, quote unquote, people came and discovered it, or rediscovered more like it, how they killed them all, and how they brought us there to work the lands because they thought we were strong and like big and could work in the sun for long hours and all that. And just the way that we were treated. And a lot of times when I talk to people here, it's like they don't know these things. I remember I asked a girl, do you know who Harriet Tubman is, when that movie came out 2 years ago? And she's like, who's Harriet Tubman? I was like, oh my goodness.
But maybe they're just dumb.
You know, it's funny. That's the girl. I'm not gonna say that. I was telling you about the girl from Ottawa that I worked with, and I was like, I told you that you guys remind me of each other. I don't think she's dumb. I just think she wasn't taught that growing up in school. Were you taught about?
Everyone in the
like
world
that?
is taught who Harriet Tubman is, so don't act like the school system failed her. She failed herself, not knowing who Harriet Tubman is. Like, you don't even have to go to school to know who Harriet Tubman is.
I know, because I'm like, Harriet Tubman is not she was geogated to America. That's where she was, you know. But I still knew who she was because she was a really popular name in Black history. In Jamaica, we had someone similar to Harriet Tubman. She was called Nanny of the Maroons. And she is on our $500 bill.
I was going to say, she's on the money, isn't she?
Yeah, she is the first heroine of Jamaica. We have national heroes, and she's a national heroine. So we do right by ours. America, where's Harriet's $20 bill? I just think it's very important that we still have Black History Month. There's so much more to learn, so much more history to uncover, so much more for Black kids to grow up and know about themselves. And it's not just important for Black people to know this about themselves, but it's important for other races to understand what the history of the country they're living in is. A lot of people just think America was started by a tea party. I legitimately believe that people would grow up and think, well, America was founded by Americans, like, and we had a tea party and then we just wrote the Declaration. No. No. No, because that's what it feels like. My little sister is going to school in the States, and the things they teach her is like, oh my goodness. They are really trying to brainwash you guys.
Yeah. But the American school system is notoriously horrible.
Bad. Like, just bad.
They just don't put a real focus on education. Unless you have money. Everything's about money.
Right. If you go to a private school, then it's like, okay, well, you're going to be taught something proper.
Yeah.
But in general, it's just so horrible.
But I just want them to talk more about, like, Black History Month. I want them to talk more about, like, Black inventors and things like that. Make it a little bit more celebratory, especially outside of school. And not just, you know, like, I saw on Instagram the other day, they're putting, like, the first Black policeman in Toronto on the subway cars for Black History Month and things like that. Which is great, but I'd also like to see people who weren't just, like, the first Black person to do this. Like, people who invented stuff. People who changed your everyday. I mean, I know those people were trailblazers, and obviously they, you know, he pushed forward so that other Black people could become police officers. But I'd like to see a little bit more diversity in who we're celebrating.
It's so hard though because you get a month, and in that month it's like the shortest month of the year. It started out as a a week. It got extended to a month. And how much can you really pack into a month of, let's talk about the history of a race that built this country?
I mean, the month happens every year. You got a lot of time to plan.
Yeah, you do. But then it's like, does the government do this?
Yes.
Do we expect this from private sectors? Like,
Yes.
what?
All of the above.
I would just like for the real history to be taught in schools and be taught in a part of the curriculum. Not just that a bunch of white guys in white curly wigs wrote on a piece of paper and then the country just began.
Right.
I would like for everything to be taught in schools so that kids know, because the whole point of it now is to teach kids. At least that's what it was. Because when they did the Black History Week, the guy who started it, let me see his name. He is Carter G. Woodson. He was like, I'm doing this study from K to 12th grade, and Black history education is trash. Or kids learn nothing. They know nothing about what they are, who they are, where they come from. So the idea of Black History Month is like, educate our kids, because throughout the school year, they're not learning this. And as a parent, you have to teach your kids, but then as a Black parent, you probably weren't taught anything to teach your kid. And as a white parent, you definitely weren't taught anything of value to teach your kid about Black history.
Well, you should have been taught it in school.
You should have been, but the schools weren't teaching it. Because history books were written by people who had power throughout history, and they are not going to write the truth because then they're going to look bad.
Yeah.
That's why for the longest time we had so many statues of slave owners. Like, they're obviously going to say that they were right in whatever they were doing. They're not going to be like, we were actually enslaving human beings. That was wrong. We shouldn't have done that. They're going to be like, we did what we had to do to make sure our kind survived and we were okay and there was food on your table. And that's why we have this big-ass plantation house for you to have for generations to generations, to have your weddings and barbecues with your wait staffs and just money to flourish the land for 50 generations to come. So once we get that into the school systems where kids are learning about indigenous people and they're learning about Black people and they're learning about other minority groups that came here throughout the years and helped build the country, then we can focus more on the inventors, the people that did fun things throughout history that just it would be cool to know about.
Exactly.
But we still need to get to the basics of it to teach kids in school the truth.
Yeah, kids definitely don't learn enough in school. You know what I learned on the news today? Have you ever heard of Viola Desmond? She's like the Rosa Parks of Canada.
Okay.
So she was in a movie theater and she was sitting in the whites only area of the theater in Halifax.
Oh, yes. I remember that story. I didn't remember her name, though.
Yeah, so I guess one of the school kids, I don't know how old they were, in Nova Scotia, had an idea that this year the province should repay the money she spent for her fine and her legal fees, which was like, I don't know, $27 or something. But they bumped it up to $1,000 for like inflation or like current rates. And they're going to give it away as a scholarship. It's a one-time scholarship, but it's still nice.
I think they could do more, but yeah, it's a start. No, you're laughing. Like, of course they can do more.
Yeah, they can always do more. So what are you saying?
In that instance, what I would have asked is that let's do an annual scholarship where we give one Black person a scholarship for a year's tuition to go to film school, because this happened in a movie theater. How about that?
That's pretty cute.
That.
Yeah, I thought it could be an annual scholarship too, but I mean, I'm sure they already have so many scholarships set up. But I thought it was kind of nice that it's like a direct reparation. Like, yeah, we never made good on this, so let's make good on it this year.
If it's a direct reparation, give it to her ancestors. Give it to like her kids. You know what I mean?
I know, but like, what do her kids really need $1,000 for?
It doesn't matter.
When
it's
it could
a
go
pandemic
to
thing.
a
pretty
Black
sure they could use
student who really needs it to pursue their education.
As I said, if my great granddaddy was the one that this happened to give me the money, That's what my blood suffered. If you want to do something for all of my people, do that too, on top of it. If it's a direct reparation, you give it directly to the person who suffered, like their lineage. If they have no
I'm
one
more
that's...
of a common good person.
So am I, but it doesn't make a difference. But if there's no direct, heir to whatever, then give it to the people. That's how I see it. If we're going to be thinking giving direct reparations. Let's say that this Miss Desmond doesn't have any living relatives. Then give it to the community. If she does, give it to her family.
Maybe she has no living relatives.
Speculation, Your Honor.
I said maybe.
What was a movie as a kid that you thought was like a rite of passage? You had to watch this growing up as a young black boy.
I don't know if there was any. I know I watched Roots when I was young. My parents bought like a DVD copy of Roots, and we all sat down and watched Roots as a family. It's like a 5-part miniseries.
Mm-hmm. That would be really nice. I did watch Roots growing up. Let's see. Movies that I feel like I had to... It's not that I had to watch, but when I say rite of passage, it's either something that it's like your parents made you watch it, or it's just something that as a young black person, it's good to watch so you know a little bit about your history and what your people have been through. Roots is definitely at the top of the list. A lot of black people have watched it, so it automatically becomes like a rite of passage thing. Color Purple is kind of one of those things too, where a lot of black people watched that, and a lot of black parents will like let their kids watch it so they can see that story. I'm trying to think of others. I watched 12 Years a Slave. I don't know if it's become that iconic yet to be a rite of passage. There's a lot of them out there, to be honest. But a lot of them are so centered around hardship and slavery.
Yeah, it's
what I do
slavery.
love is Hidden Figures, because that one actually... there was hardship, there was tribulations, but it just showed black excellence and just us thriving, which I really appreciated that story. That's a story I didn't grow up learning about.
More of that.
Yeah, and so I was really grateful to see it on the screen and being played out so beautifully.
Yeah, I never knew about it. I think most people never had heard of it ever. And they were such like an integral part of that mission.
You know, it just goes to show again what we're taught in schools as kids, and that they're always going to just tell you the space race was... All you hear about is like Neil Armstrong or like whoever, and them against Russia. You don't hear about the people behind the scenes that were of color that really played a major role in making everything happen and making sure that the astronauts got to where they needed to go and got home safely. So love that story. Love
that's exactly who they should be celebrating in Black History Month. More people like that.
Yep. As soon as we start teaching kids in schools more about where they came from, then we can go on to those pretty parts.
I mean, I learned about where I came from.
You did, but a lot of other kids didn't. You went to a good school.
It sounds like it, since your friend didn't know who... Who did you know who it was?
Harriet Tubman.
Harriet Tubman. What an idiot.
If you're listening to this and you know who you are, if you're that person, I wonder if she listens to this podcast. You're not an idiot. Your school system failed you.
You're an idiot. What do you mean?
Your school system failed you.
School system. What, do you go through life with your eyes closed? You're a black person and you don't know who Harriet Tubman is?
I'm telling you. And she grew up where you grew up. That's the thing. And that's why I always wondered, because I know...
Girl, pick up a book.
Who grew up...
Open a Google tab.
Where you grew up. And they both, her and this other girl, you met the other girl, they both seem so disconnected sometimes, and they both seem like they don't have a lot of cultural references to hearken to, it seems. Like when they were growing up and even in their adult lives, they don't have a lot of black people around them, and they don't have a lot of black experiences, so they just are unaware. And that made me wonder.
Michael, I can't believe you're defending it.
I'm not defending it. It just made me wonder.
Yeah, you are.
Listen, it made me wonder. I'm not from here like you guys, so it made me wonder if people from that area that you're from just weren't around black people and weren't taught anything. It made me wonder. I'm like, is this what it's like?
You don't have to be black to know who Harriet Tubman is.
Girl, but she didn't know.
You don't have to be. It has nothing to do with being black. Pretty much everyone
I'm
Like
apart
what? You
from
go into a grade 2 class and ask who Harriet Tubman is. Probably most of them could tell you.
apart from Harriet Tubman. I'm talking about these people as just in general, as a whole. The way they operate, it's almost like they don't have a lot of black experiences. And it made me wonder, is it just the part where the place where they came from, where you came from, is it just how black people are, brought up? But you said no, you learned these things, you have a different understanding of the black experience, so it's just them specifically. Black actors. Who are some of your favorite black actors?
Favorite black actors? I don't know.
I absolutely love
Viola Davis.
Yes. She
Yeah,
is
she's my favorite.
such a good actress. When she cries on screen, I want to cry with her.
I do cry. Whenever she accepts an award and she cries, I cry.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. I just find it so inspiring. And I think that she represents so many people. And I just think she's so grateful. And she doesn't take any of it for granted.
That is true.
She's like living in the moment, and she knows how important what she's doing is and how lucky she is to be doing what she's doing. And she's come from like poverty and is living this life. And I just absolutely love her so much. And on top of it, she's like wildly talented. So it's like we're not even praising someone who's degular. Like,
oh yeah,
she's one of the best actresses of all time.
She is extraordinary. When she embodies a role, like whatever role she gets, she embodies it. Period. You know who else I love as an actor? Well, an actress.
Wait, one more thing about Viola Davis. I heard that once somebody was like, or she made a comment, because people are always saying she's the black Meryl Streep.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I am the black Viola Desmond.
She said that?
Like, not everything has to be...
No, she said...
I'm pretty sure that's what
Viola
she said.
Desmond or...
I don't know if that's what I... Oh, sorry, like... Davis. I'm the black Viola Davis.
Gotcha.
But I don't know if she exactly said that, but her point was like, not everything needs to be compared to whiteness. Whiteness isn't the litmus scale for everything else in our world.
Work.
So I am me and she is her, and we're both great.
I love that because it's what a lot of people say when they're comparing you to someone else. It's like, oh my goodness, you're the Asian Angelina Jolie. You're the black Meryl Streep. No, you're just Lucy Liu, and you're just Viola Davis. And you're both great because you're talented. And the standard isn't this white woman or this white man or whiteness. The standard is talent, period.
And I mean, you take it with a grain of salt because obviously they're comparing you to somebody that's on your level.
Right.
And most of the people who come before and like have established are usually white. So there's some of that with it as well, but I think we should just kind of get away from describing things like that.
True. I remember watching, because I love gospel music, I remember watching this gospel morning show, like a service type thing, and one of my favorite gospel singers of all time, Yolanda Adams, was singing, and she's such a masterful singer, by the way. And the lady that was introducing her says, she is a vocal talent beyond anything I've heard. She's amazing. She is the black Barbara Streisand. And in the moment when I heard it, I was very young when this happened. This was like back in the day. I was like, why does she got to be the black Barbara Streisand? As a kid, I'm like, she's Yolanda Adams. She's great.
Exactly, yeah.
Why she got to be the black Barbara? And I was like, whatever. But
why it got to be black?
I just love these people. Now, another great actress I want to show recognition to that I really enjoy, and these are actors, there are a lot of amazing black actors out there, like Halle Berry and all of these people. But I'm really looking at people who look like regular people every day. People that you normally don't see on the screen. Halle Berry was, while she was amazing and she deserves every accolade she has gotten over the years and all the admiration because she's talented, we cannot negate the fact that she is a woman with Eurocentric features that is like socially acceptable as beautiful to most. And so there was a privilege in that, and it was easier for her to get a role. Even though she did have to struggle and fight, it still was easier than someone like Viola back in her day. And this
Absolutely, yeah.
girl, when I see her on screen acting, I see women that I grew up with. I see my best friend's mom. I see my neighbors. I see some of my aunts and my cousins. Like, um, her name is, and I am very terrible at pronouncing names, but I'm gonna give it a shot. Wunmi Masaku. She
Who is
she
this?
is the lady that was in Country, and
Which lady?
the sister of Smolier. I also watched her
Oh,
in His House, and yeah, loved her. Shout out to Cicely Tyson. What was she in again, way back in the day? That show we were talking about earlier.
she was in Roots.
Roots, right. Legend, love her.
Yeah.
Um, Shout out to your favorite male actor.
Yahya Abdul Mateen?
Yes, the guy you're obsessed with. And, just black people in general that we find to be excellent role models and musicians. Beyonce, how you doing? And everybody else. Hey, Oprah, send me a basket. Thank you guys so much for listening to this Black History Month special. I mean, there's so much more to say, but it's just an ongoing conversation, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe wherever you're listening to us on, and share if you care. Bye.